Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros, it's Drew here, and today I wanted to talk about the likelihood of an Aquaman coaster or ride showing up in 2020. Now to fit in with the theme of Aquaman, it is pouring rain outside, so if you hear any rain, I'm sorry, but it's just absolutely pouring, and it does not look to stop today. We actually just got flash flood warnings in my area, so that should be a lot of fun. But let's talk about Aquaman. So the new Aquaman movie comes out in late December, and it looks to be actually the makings of a hit. Just kind of like Wonder Woman, the early screenings have given it amazing reviews, unlike the other DC Universe movies. So I do believe, especially with Jason Momoa, he's got some crazy star power now with him. Aquaman will do very, very well, just like Wonder Woman. And I really believe that we will end up seeing an Aquaman coaster or ride in 2020. Now, we didn't actually see a Wonder Woman coaster until this year, after it riding off the success of the movie, as well as possibly the sequel in the next years to come. But I feel like Wonder Woman was one of those names where it was hard to justify a coaster for a long time for the Six Flags chain for some reason, until the movie did so well that they figured why not bring a coaster back into play with Wonder Woman, of course. Actually, two coasters if you count the S&S Free Spin at Six Flags Mexico. So I do think it's kind of like the same situation with Aquaman. Aquaman has always kind of been the laughingstock of the DC universe for a lot of people, but now since Jason Momoa is Aquaman, it's gained a lot more respect, I would say, throughout the comic book community, as well as just the regular community in general. The moment Jason Momoa was announced as Aquaman, everyone went, "Ooh, Aquaman's cool now." So it just wouldn't surprise me with this new star power that Six Flags finally puts in the money to have an Aquaman ride. Now, of course, we can't tell the success of this movie from 6 months ago when Six Flags probably made all of their final decisions with names and things. But as of now, it looks like the movie should be at least a decent hit, which I think Six Flags Parks will probably jump onto, especially if Aquaman ends up getting a sequel. So I really do believe that Six Flags will be at least adding one or two rides that are themed to Aquaman in 2020 if they have the rights to it. I actually don't know if they actually have the rights to Aquaman, so that might be the reason they've never had a ride. So if that's the case, just stop watching this video now, I guess. Well, actually don't, because I am going to talk about possible rides that could be fitting with Aquaman. But even if it's not Aquaman themed, I do believe that these could be coming to the parks very, very soon, as in 2020. So I'm very excited to talk about this next bit. But I'm going to talk about Magic Mountain in specific right now, just because I've done measurements with the Mach Power Splash coaster, and I have figured out a place that could possibly go and could change the backside of Magic Mountain in a fantastic way. So the Mach Power Splash, as some of you know, has appeared on multiple Six Flags Parks surveys about possible future additions, along with B&M dive coasters and RMC Raptors. I do feel like this is the next ride to be cloned in a lot of places, just because its 500 by 100 footprint is pretty small in regards to it being a new coaster. So I have found a potential spot for this at Magic Mountain. Now, this would actually involve the taking out of at least one existing ride, and that would be Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave would have to go regardless. I think you would replace this water ride with the Mach Power Splash. And there are two ways they could try and fit it into that space without taking out anything else. The first way is squeezing it in sideways compared to Tidal Wave itself, and it going along right in between some of the break area buildings and backstage buildings and Green Lantern First Flight. You could squeeze in one of the spires right there and have it run all the way along sideways in comparison to Tidal Wave, and have it end up near some of the planters in Metropolis. Now, why I think this would be a great idea, you could finally connect the DC Universe part of the park and the Metropolis part of the park through one ride that has common theming between the two. Aquaman is in the DC Universe, he does show up in Metropolis a lot, so I realistically think this is the best spot if they don't want to remove Green Lantern. It is definitely the the only way you could actually probably fit an attraction of this size in its awkward stature and footprint. Now, it would probably be a tight squeeze for most of it, but I'm sure they could figure out a way where the splashdown is in the right spot where it could work. But I do have a second option, I think, that could maybe work, but it would probably be on the least likely end of these three options I'm going to give, and that is just having it run exactly where Tidal Wave was, ending where Tidal Wave was against the main pathway right there, and going all the way back until about 15 feet before Batman's vertical loop. Now, I think that's cutting it way too close, but you never know. It's a possibility for that to happen. I just do think that it gets really, really close right there. It would also have to run underneath Riddler's first drop and lift hill, which would also be a tight squeeze. Now, if they put the water splash where the water splash is for Tidal Wave, I think it's doable, but where would you put the station? Where would you put the rest of the ride realistically? It could shift over a couple feet, but not much more in that spot. So that's where a lot of difficulty could be, especially since it is a cloned ride. So you won't be able to move the station to a completely different spot in the ride, which really kind of stinks, but it works out better for Mach that way because they only need to make the one design and just repeat it over and over again. Now, the third and final option is kind of going along the lines of my first option, but it also includes the taking out of Green Lantern. Now, I do know that the park president said that Green Lantern is not going anywhere, at least in September, but we have not seen any changes with it as of now, and that was 3 months ago. And it just wouldn't surprise me if Green Lantern is going to bite the dust. And I know that's not actually going to happen, at least as of now, but I feel like this would probably be the best reason for it to go. Now, you could actually have the Mach Power Splash going where Green Lantern is, starting over there, and going all the way through Tidal Wave, kind of in the same spot, but it gives it more room to breathe, as well as you could even fit some walkways along that way to connect Metropolis and DC Universe and have a second pathway that can interact with that part of the park instead of having to go along Crazy Entity, which, I mean, it doesn't really get too much traffic or anything, but it would be nice to have a second route, I think. But if you get rid of that coaster, which is Green Lantern, you get another coaster in return, which would be something like Aquaman, Aqua Splash, or something along those lines, because I know they'll do the subtitle that's a little awkward. I mean, Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster. But I really do believe it is time for an Aquaman ride if they are able to do it, and I do think that in 2020, a Mach Power Splash is most likely coming to Magic Mountain. It's the best fit out of the three options we've been given. I know I shouldn't always trust the surveys, of course, but I've heard some other things outside of the surveys. So I'm very interested to see where this can go, and I really do think it would be the best fit for the park. I think they need a new, updated water ride, especially with Tidal Wave and Jetstream being really on the older end of things, at least, and even the Rapids ride is on the older end, but it does run, I think, a little better than the other two options. But I really do believe that Tidal Wave should probably end up going very soon here. I rarely ever see riders on it unless it's 105 degrees, and it is closed for maintenance a huge chunk of the year, it seems. So I just feel like it would probably be best if that ride ends up going in the very near future and is hopefully replaced with something like a Mach Power Splash. I do think that Magic Mountain needs a third water ride that is just brand new and more exciting than the other water rides that they offer as at the moment. Also, with Magic Mountain, how hot it gets, I really think it needs more water rides than a lot of other parks. But I feel like a Mach Power Splash would be the perfect choice in that spot. It's just the problem is fitting it into that spot without it taking out too many things. Now, I do think it could fit in between Green Lantern and the backstage, and I do think if you put it underneath Riddler's, it is a possible spot. It's a little harder to do, but I do believe it is doable nonetheless. So, of course, I mean, we haven't even seen West Coast Racers' physical construction yet. So, of course, we always have that to look forward to in 2019, and I know I'm getting ahead of the ball for looking at 2020 already, but that's what us coaster enthusiasts and theme park enthusiasts do. We always look ahead to the future. And I'm really excited to see what 2020 brings for Magic Mountain. I would love to see a mock Power Splash, but I'd love to see a couple other things too. Maybe like a Zamperla Endeavor would be a really great fit in the park as Supergirl. Just like at Six Flags St. Louis for 2019, I think that would be an awesome fit as well. But I'm really excited to see what happens in 2020, and I want to know your guys' thoughts. Make sure to comment down below what you think Magic Mountain will be getting in 2020. As well as what your home Six Flags park will be getting in 2020. Because I do think if a mock Power Splash comes to one park, I think it will be coming to at least 4 or 5 within the next 2 or 3 years. So I'm very, very excited to see what happens with those and what happens in 2020 and 2021 and beyond. I really think the Six Flags chain is going to have a huge couple of years, and I'm really, really ready to see what is announced for all the Six Flags parks in 2020 and 2021. But thank you guys for watching. Of course, make sure to tell me what you think. I really want to know. And as always, we'll see you on the next ride.